There's a war going on, and it's not outside. It's not between nations or on your social media feed. It's happening inside your head. Every day, from the moment you wake up, something begins fighting for control over your thoughts, your fears, your impulses, your cravings, your doubts. The noise, the distractions, the negativity, all of it wants to sit on the throne of your mind. And if you don't claim that throne, something else will. You wake up and reach for your phone. Notifications, messages, breaking news, someone else's drama, someone else's highlight reel. Before your feet even touch the floor, your mind has already been hijacked. Your day didn't start with purpose. It started with reaction. And that one decision, to scroll instead of sit in silence, set the tone for the next 24 hours. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics understood something we've forgotten. You don't need to control the outside world. You can't. But you must control the world within. Your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions, your perspective. That's where real power lives. That's where your empire begins. The truth is, most people are prisoners of their own minds. They don't live, they react. They react to notifications, opinions, noise, temptation. They react to fear. They overthink, panic, compare, and complain. Not because life is overwhelming, but because their minds are undisciplined. The Stoics knew this well. They didn't try to control the world. They trained themselves to respond wisely to it. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet his greatest achievement wasn't external conquest. It was internal peace. He journaled not for praise, but for clarity. He ruled not with ego, but with reflection. Every word he wrote was a reminder to master the self. Because if the mind is in chaos, no crown can give you peace. And here's what most people miss. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about power. Power over distraction, power over reaction, power over your lower self. The mind is like a sword. If you don't sharpen it, it dulls. If you don't train it, it controls you. And if you hand it over to every app, every trend, every emotion, you've already lost the battle. But not you. Not anymore. You're not here for comfort. You're here for control. You're here to build the discipline most people avoid. To become the kind of person who doesn't flinch at stress, who doesn't scroll for validation, who doesn't explode at discomfort. You're here to be unshakable. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more stillness, more clarity, more people who lead themselves before leading others. And that begins with mastering the one thing that governs every action, every choice, every reaction: your mind. Let's talk about the modern mind. The world has never been louder, never more connected, never more distracted. And in this endless flood of content, we've become addicted, not just to information, but to stimulation. We don't think. We scroll. We don't sit with our thoughts. We run from them. Silence, once a place of wisdom, now feels like a threat. The moment it gets quiet, we panic. We reach for noise to fill the void we're afraid to face. This is not just a bad habit. It's a crisis of control, a war of attention, and the battlefield is your mind. Think about how many moments you give away each day. The 5-minute scroll that becomes 45, the constant switching between apps, the inability to finish a single task without checking something else. Every time your mind jumps, it loses strength. Every distraction weakens your ability to focus. You're not just losing time. You're training your brain to be scattered, reactive, dependent. In ancient times, philosophers would spend hours walking alone, thinking deeply about a single thought. Now we can't even hold one for more than 8 seconds. We've outsourced our thinking to algorithms. We've traded self-reflection for swiping. And the cost? Mental chaos, emotional instability, a mind that can't sit still. But here's the truth most won't tell you. Your mind is not the enemy. It's the most powerful tool you'll ever own, if you learn how to use it. And like any tool, it can serve you or destroy you. The difference is how you train it. Modern society doesn't train you to think. It trains you to react. It doesn't build your discipline, it feeds your impulse. The average person lives in a reactive trance, pulled from thought to thought, mood to mood, like a leaf in the wind. One harsh comment ruins their day. One distraction derails their goals. One rejection breaks their confidence. This isn't living, this is surrendering. The Stoics knew this danger long before smartphones ever existed. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that freedom isn't about physical chains, it's about mental chains. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You could be sitting in a prison and still be free, if your mind is calm. And you could be living in a palace and still be enslaved, if your mind is in chaos. Look around. So many people look free, but are prisoners of overthinking, of anxiety, of comparison, of distraction. They may walk where they want, speak what they want, buy what they want, but they can't stop the war inside. Why? Because they've never been taught to train the mind, only to feed it. So what does this mean for you? It means you must become uncommon. You must take the hard road. You must go inward when the world demands you go outward. You must learn to sit in silence when the noise becomes unbearable. You must take back control. That means cutting distractions, not because they're evil, but because you value peace. So now you know the battle isn't out there. It never was. The real battle is within, and always has been. The enemy is not your past, not your failures, not your doubts. It's the undisciplined mind that listens to all of them, the voice that says you can't, the impulse that pulls you back, the fear that stops you from stepping forward, the anger that poisons your peace. That voice, you can silence it. That chaos, you can calm it. That weakness, you can overcome it, but not by running, not by wishing, not by waiting for the perfect moment. You overcome it by showing up again and again and again. You journal when the mind screams. You breathe when the world panics. You move forward when fear says stop. You remain silent when your ego wants to speak. That is mastery. That is control. That is strength. The inner empire is not built in comfort. It's built in discipline, in stillness, in brutal honesty with yourself. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more scrolling. You need to take the throne. You need to remember who you are. Because the mind, when left untrained, becomes your master. But the mind, when trained with patience and fire, becomes your servant. You were not born to be ruled by your thoughts. You were born to rise above them. So rise, right now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. This is your empire, and it starts within. Welcome to the inner empire.